everybody. Eric Schweitzer here at the North American Lorcana Championship with our winner, first time ever, Edmund Chiu. How are you, Ed?
I'm doing good. Long day today, but we got there.
Yeah, I'm so impressed, especially with that last game. But before we get into that, can you talk a little bit about your deck selection? You're very well known for playing Ruby Amethyst. That's what you won with
Sure.
at Fort Worth.
Yeah.
Was there any doubt in your mind that that was the deck you were going to bring here?
To be honest, I played Ruby Sapphire for about the last month.
Okay.
And it was kind of touted like the best deck of the format,
Yeah.
so I kind of wanted to see what it was about.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I felt that I was more comfortable with Ruby Amethyst. And on Friday, I looked around the LCQs and I saw a lot of people playing the library in particular. That card was pretty powerful, and I saw a lot of Ruby Sapphire.
Yeah.
And I think my predictions were like over 30% of the field
Right.
was going to be Ruby Sapphire. So I took out a lot of the cards that I thought were not good into that matchup. For example, Genie, Maui, and Elsa. A lot of people saw the list and was, wow, that's really crazy. Like, those are the staples of the deck.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, it's how your cards lined up with your opponents.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel those cards lined up very well. So I decided to take those out and added the Lady Tremaines. I thought those were very pivotal in that matchup as well. And the library was kind of that last piece that I got from Friday that I saw. That was very powerful.
Yeah.
So I decided to add those, and all those pieces, threw them together, and that's how I ended up on Ruby Amethyst.
What a testament to your skills as a player that you can say, oh, I've never played library, but it seems like people are playing it. Must be good.
Yeah.
That's so impressive.
Yeah, I think the thing is, when you're not necessarily good at something, the first thing you do is probably just copy the people that are doing well with it. And then you kind of add your own style to it and how you think about the card. So based on those kind of things, and I mean, my intuition with Ruby Amethyst, I feel like I have a good grasp on it. So, I mean, it wasn't incredibly difficult to pick up, but the play patterns definitely had some kind of learning curve that I kind of picked up over the tournament.
Well, so you won at Fort Worth earlier this year, so you already had your Worlds invite. Did that come into your mind at all when you were coming here, or were you coming for the win no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of meme about it. It's like, oh, I'm going to play my for fun deck. And in a way, I did kind of play a for fun deck in terms of I wouldn't bring this to like a normal tournament because it's so geared towards what I expect the national, meta game is going to look like. So I made a call that, no matter what, I have my Worlds invite, like you said, but, I'm going to try my very best to tech against like the best of the best, probably on Ruby Sapphire.
Cool. Run us through your weekend, starting with day one. Any interesting matchups that you had? How did it go?
Yeah, so funny thing is, day one, I only ended up playing one Ruby Sapphire.
Oh, wow.
So I ran through kind of the gauntlet, to be honest. I was very surprised that some people were even bringing Emerald Steel because of the kind of weakness to Ruby Sapphire. Like in Vegas, I was like talking to Zan about, playing Emerald Steel, and I think this was before people started catching on, don't deplete your hand too quickly and just kind of draw cards with Ruby Sapphire with the Popsicle and the Hiram. And that's kind of what got you, ahead in card advantage. But, some people decided to kind of play like a lower to the ground style of the deck with like Cursed Merfolk and Calhoun, and even Cutting Beast for Doc to try to be a little bit faster than your opponent. So I faced Emerald Steel, I faced Sapphire Steel as well. I was very surprised because that deck also has a weakness to Ruby Sapphire. And then I finally got to play the Ruby Sapphire match, and I was like, yes, that's one down, like, I can take this one.
Yeah.
And then I also faced the Mirror, which was also very kind of surprising. Well, not really, because it's like, if Ruby Sapphire is the best deck, then, the natural predator to that would be Ruby Amethyst.
Yeah.
And I was able to, like, very luckily tool like the Mirror as well. And then the downside of the deck I was playing was it was pretty weak to Amber Steel and these kind of Emerald Amethyst style decks. So I got O2'd by Kurt that was running the Amber Steel Mines deck. And I kind of came in today like, if I face that, then I'll just take the O2, but I'll try to make up for it by defeating the Ruby Sapphire decks. And then after that, I also faced Luke Wonderland, a champion of Seattle, playing Emerald Steel, and I was very fortunate to 2-0 him. I think he just had kind of unfortunate hands that game, but I would say that I'm not favored into that matchup. And then actually the last round, I actually faced Zan, and we split as well in that game. So I ran through basically all the decks, and then today I faced R&B playing Blurple. I think that was kind of like a under wraps kind of deck that nobody was expecting. And it actually does pretty well into all the Amethyst decks because it gets to do the Genie Elsa thing one turn earlier than all the other decks. And it's funny because like I'm not even trying to do that thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of just trying to bypass it and go straight to the, Tremaine and Be Prepared and the Sisu.
Yeah.
So I was also very fortunate to be on the play, like being 5th seed overall coming into today. I won on the play, and then he won on the play, and then I won on the play to 3 games. And then top 8, I faced Sailor, very prominent Ruby Sapphire player. And I was very fortunate to be the top seed in that matchup as well. And I built my deck specifically to beat that deck, right? And yeah, I 2-0'd him in about 15 minutes. Like no knock on him, it's just how the matchup goes. And then I had to face Zan, and that was probably one of the toughest matches in my life. He got the best of me like when we first met in March when he was playing Amber Steel, I was playing Ruby Sapphire at like a big tournament. And ever since then, it's like, I had to like, get my revenge.
Right.
But not really. It's like, it's a friendly rivalry, I would say. And we've become friends over time, like seeing each other at all the challenges. And, we talk Lorcana and, we hang out. So it was really nice to be able to play with one of the best and showcase my skills.
Cool. And then going into that finals, when you found out that it was going to be a Ruby Sapphire match, how were you feeling?
Oh yeah, I was licking my chops at that point. He was actually 2nd seed, so he actually got to go first. But I think it's still very, very, very favored for me. And I did end up dropping a game because like he was able to kind of go under me and quest out really quickly, and I just wasn't able to respond. And it's really funny because I think historically speaking, the Ruby Sapphire deck is the control deck, right? And Ruby Amethyst is trying to go under. But the way I kind of constructed the deck, I actually wanted to try to go over Ruby Sapphire. Like I think in the final, I just tried my best to play as many rabbit bounces as possible because every bounce you get is effectively 2 cards. And there's not a lot of ways for Ruby Sapphire to do something equivalent because the downside of Hiram is you play it, you get the activation, but it always gets banished basically the turn after. But Rabbit is he just goes back to the hand every time. So you can basically assemble like a huge hand and like remove your opponent's cards 1 turn at a time until they're down to like nothing, and then you just do whatever you need to do to get to the finish line.
Yeah, and we saw that control really come in with the 4 Tremaines, especially in that first game. You're just able to lock him down. Talk to us really quickly about the 4th game because he got all the way up to 17. It looked like you weren't going to be able to come back. Tell us how you turned it around.
Okay, so that game in particular, I thought was interesting because when he's at 17, he played a Vitalisphere and he had a Pirate's Life in his discard. And I knew that if he had 1 Shark, he was able to kind of just play it, rush it in, get his 3 lore and win the game. So I tried my best to kind of play around that by never really exerting my characters to not allow him to retrieve that Pirate's Life. But to be honest, I really wasn't that scared because sometimes in Ruby Amethyst or any kind of control strategy, you have to, let your opponent gain some amount of lore. And as long as that lore is not 20, it actually doesn't matter how much lore they have. They could be at 19, they didn't win the game, right? They still need to finish you. So I think 17 to me was actually still fairly comfortable just because he notably does not run Lucky Dime. So he doesn't have that additional reach that other Ruby Sapphire decks have. So 17, I felt pretty comfortable. And my game plan going into kind of like when he got to 17 is, okay, that is the last lore he'll get for the rest of the game. I'm going to control the board and just set up in a way that I have a response to everything that he does. So basically the library kind of sped up the process a little bit. I just drew into many copies because, I'm doing that rabbit bounce thing and then playing Tremaine or the big Sisu to kind of remove the threats. So to be honest, I wasn't really that nervous. Like I was, sometimes you get to those like, just hanging by a thread, but you got it at the end of the day.
Well, it was a thrilling game to watch, a historic win. Congratulations again. And I can't wait to see what you can do at Worlds later this year.